Shalom, shalom to the 12 tribes of Yasharallah that are scattered to the four corners of the world. I am back with another video, and today's video is going to be entitled The Racist Hebrew Israelites. Who are these racist Hebrew Israelites? Because and the reason I decided to title this video, initially I was going with who are the African Americans, but there's this stigma that is going around about the Hebrew Israelites being a hate group. So I want to first off tackle the Hebrew Israelites and what the definition actually means. And then we're going to hear from some people that are not considered Hebrew Israelites and hear what their point of view is. And I want to say prior to the beginning of this video that any information that I discuss in this video, any videos that are shared, is shared under fair use. And also these are my opinions based on my research. And so you all can watch these videos and make the assumption for yourself. I am not a racist. I am not a racist. I am not a terrorist, but I do consider myself a Hebrew and an Israelite, not by religion, but by culture, by lineage. That's who I am. I am a descendant of Eber, which is a descendant of Shem, and from Eber's descendants through Abraham, through his son Terah, through Terah, through his son Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, I am considered an Israelite or a Yasharalite. I've said it before in other videos, Jacob's name was changed to Yashar. That is where we get the book of Jasher from. Yashar means upright, and Jasher means Yashar, which is short for Yasha, and we are Yasharallah. So we are Yasharalites. And so this was our lineage, this was our history, this was our culture. We are not a religion, but we are a people whose culture was to worship Ahia, the creator, the maker of all. Worship him in spirit and in truth. Keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, keep his feast days, and all the covenant that he made with our father Abraham and his seed. So we're going to go ahead and I'll just start sharing the videos. This will be a two-part video because there is a lot of information. So this first half is going to be a lot of clips, and then I will discuss commentary in between in some instances.
This has nothing to do with racially oriented. I'm going to say that again. This has nothing to do with being racially oriented. This is biblical.
Amen.
I'm going to repeat that. This is biblical.
Amen.
These are biblical people. If they weren't, why are they in the Bible? If God didn't want you to see this, then why did he write it? He did it because it has to do with his story. I'm saying your forefathers, now walk with me, don't miss this. Because 98% of everybody out there believes that their roots starts in Africa. So they call themselves Black African Americans. And really what they should be talking to themselves is they are what? The Hebrews and the Jews of the original temple of the city of David.
Amen.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move to the next video.
Why from each white country this Jewish agency is trying to bring Jews, and when it's about Black Africa, they're going to Ethiopia, and this is where they stop. The only one place. Now, because of the same thing, they're trying to do the white supremacy here. They try to bring white guys here and to take the supremacy over Arabs, which are the local citizens, and over blacks, which are so far they're only the Ethiopian Jews. Now, what I'm trying also to say is that another question is why? Why America needs Israel? In Israel there is no oil like in other Middle Eastern countries. There's nothing they can be attracted to. But why do they do all these things? Why do they invest money, bring white people and so on? When they build their system of white supremacy, just like in America they build in Israel, why? And I can tell you why. Because the true Jews, according to the Bible, you can check it in the Bible, you can read Job 30:30 and some other places. They have never been white. They have been people of color. And they have not stopped in Ethiopia. They were in Ethiopia, Sudan, and they have settled in West Africa. From West Africa, they have been taken as slaves to America. Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can just to hide this away from you. Gonna take Israel, gonna bring white people here and to tell you these are the Jews, gonna kill you, gonna kill Arabs, gonna mistreat white people like this guy just to tell you this lie. That
All right, let's keep going.
The Seven Trumpets Prepper, and to this very important and very special video that I'm doing covering who the true biblical Hebrews are. First off, I want to say, as if the warning at the beginning of the video wasn't enough, I want to make sure and reiterate this, that I'm not a racist person, nor am I a person that hates certain individuals. I love all of humanity. I want to see all of humanity making the new kingdom. But nevertheless, there is true Hebrews. There is a true people of the Most High that is scattered throughout the nations of the earth this day. It is not whom that many people believe they are, such as the so-called Jews in the nation-state of Israel that we so see before us right now. I would interject that the true biblical Hebrews are the so-called African-American people that are scattered abroad throughout the world. Now, I will show you through a mass amount of evidence that I'll put up on the screen right here, verses below, and you can do your due diligence and research these things out to see if they be so. It is very important that you understand who the true Hebrews are, because that end-time prophecy, lots of it, surround these individuals. I am a Gentile. I know exactly who I am, but it seems to be the one group of people in the world that have been, by the rest of the world, tried to be dumbed down to the fact or completely erase their history from history, is the African American people, so-called, that are scattered throughout the nations. Now, please understand that not every single black person is a true Hebrew, but it is those that are under the curse of Deuteronomy 28. And you'll be able to tell by the time that I'm done giving you this information.
Yeah, my internet has been acting up, but we are going to push through it because this video will be made. Let me see if I can stop it, see what's going on. All right, let's go to the next one.
Deuteronomy chapter 28. Now, the first 14 verses are talking about God is telling the Israelites, okay, if you keep my commands, this is what I'll do for you. The remaining verses he's telling them, if you don't keep my commands, then this is what will happen. I want to read chapter 28 and verse 68. It says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." Now, if you were to get a globe and you were to look at where the Hebrew Israelites were at, they would not need a ship to get to Egypt. So God was obviously talking about something else. He wasn't talking about the physical land of Egypt. If you look in Exodus 13:3 and Deuteronomy 20 and verse 2, it refers to Egypt as a house of bondage. Now, I want to show you something, and I know everybody has seen this. I saw it a million times, but never paid any attention and never really thought twice about it. But on the back of the dollar bill, there's a pyramid. Now, pyramids are notorious with Egypt. I mean, you say pyramid, that's automatically what you think of is Egypt. So why would the United States of America put a pyramid on the back of their dollar bill? Now, with the word Egypt meaning house of bondage, God was obviously telling the Israelites, hey, I'm going to put you back into slavery. Now, the only race of people that were brought over on ships and sold as bondmen and bondwomen, which are slaves, are the so-called African Americans. That's the term that the white man has given them. Now, like I said before, if after you do this research, which I don't expect you to take anything that I'm telling you, look it up for yourself, do the research. That's what I did. Anytime I was shown a scripture, shown something in a book, I'd look it up myself and do the same thing. And if at the end of that you still can't see it, then I really don't know what else to say. But I want the Black Hebrew Israelites, I'm trying to help to get them woke up and to see the rich heritage that they really have, and what a blessing to be one of God's chosen people. I mean, honestly, I'd give my left foot to be one of God's chosen people.
I just want to say thank you to this lady, because she's made several videos, and she was making these videos 13 years ago. And I watched her videos maybe 2 years ago, and her videos really, really shed a lot of light. And I don't know who she is, but I really appreciate her.
What does that God look like? The reality of it is, when he came here, he didn't look like me. So what am I going to do about that? I'm going to make him look like me. So for hundreds of years, we've been telling you, and now you have to keep in mind that we took away any other God that you might have through force, through fear, through pain, through any means necessary. So now I'm going to give you a God, but I'm going to do that in a way that it's going to further me. So I'm going to give you a God that looks like me, so that when you bow down to that God, you're bowing down to me. Because the reality is, the Bible tells us what Jesus looked like when he walked here. The Bible tells us what he's going to look like when he comes back. taken that and changed it. Do you remember when Jesus went to Egypt? He hid in Egypt. The people in Egypt, honey, they're not white people. How could he hide that? See, so that we've done that. We've given your people a God that looks like me so that you don't have any qualm about bowing down to me. See, because this is the image of God. I don't know of any sin that we've committed that's greater than that one.
I will put these things in the description box. If you all have a Cepher Bible, I don't use the Cepher because the Cepher has the tetragrammaton, and I've made several videos about that. But this is the face. This is one of the heads of Cepher. Every time I see the Cepher being discussed, it's this gentleman here. But let's hear what he has to say.
Was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country. With the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country. Right, to eliminate them. That's why she formed Planned Parenthood, was specifically to kill African-American, Black Americans. That's why she did it.
Okay.
Any comments on Israel? We're asking everybody today. Any comments
Tell them to get the hell out of Palestine.
Ooh. Any better comments?
Remember, these people are occupied, and it's their land.
Okay, one moment, you all. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second. Okay, you all, I lost connection somewhere while this video was playing, so I'm just going to go ahead and start it over. I lost my internet signal.
Any comments on Israel? We're asking everybody today. Any comments
Tell them
on
to
Israel?
get the hell out of Palestine.
Ooh. Any better comments?
Remember, these people are occupied, and it's their land. It's not German, it's not Poland.
So where should they go? What should they do?
They go home.
Where's the home?
Poland.
So the Jews,
Germany.
You think Jews go back to Poland and Germany?
And America and everywhere else.
Hello and welcome. Could the founding of Israel have been based on a total misunderstanding of history? One Israeli historian has created huge controversy with his findings that the idea of a single Jewish tribe is wrong, and that much of the justification for the founding of the Jewish state of Israel is actually political. Shlomo Sand, a professor of contemporary history at Tel Aviv University and author of the book The Invention of the Jewish People, which was on the bestseller list in Israel for several months and has recently been translated into English.
Show you who the true Hebrews or Jews are, or Yehudim. The people in Israel right now are not Jews. They're Khazars. Your true Jews, or your true Yehudim, are the so-called black person, or African American, as you like to call them sometimes. They're not African at all. They're the true Jews. They're the true Hebrews that were brought over here on ships, which the scriptures mention.
All right, so let's keep going.
This is from Blacks, Jews, The Religious Challenge, published in 1987 by Cambridge University Press. It reads, from 1900 onwards, North and South Carolina were overrun by black preachers who were propagating a doctrine according to which the lost tribe of the house of Israel was none other than the Negroes. Although this might at first sight seem an odd claim, it can be seen as reflecting the beliefs that some black slaves had held during their captivity when they were interrogated on their origins, their destiny. A historical example supports this hypothesis. A slave uprising took place in Richmond, Virginia at the beginning of the 19th century, which was led by a slave called Gabriel Prosier, an outstanding personality who had acquired some knowledge of the Bible. If you want to see the full link.
All right, so I'm just going to discuss that for a moment. I'll stop sharing for a minute. So if you look up Gabriel Prosser, the information that comes up just says that he was a slave that started a huge slave rebellion. He was a slave that started a huge slave rebellion. But there are books that you can purchase offline. I know Cambridge University has the book that Brother Dante Fortson here was quoting from. But I went online and tried to download the book, and it wanted to charge me $26, and I just didn't want to pay for it. But the book goes into more history about Gabriel Prosser. He actually was one of the only 5% of blacks that knew how to read at that time, and he became a Christian preacher. As he began to minister and the more he studied and researched the Bible, he started telling people that the books, that the Bible was about us, that the Bible were about the colored people in America, and that there was going to be a second Exodus the same way that there was a first Exodus, because our power promised us that. And he actually began to be known as a modern day Samson of that time. And the Bible said, the story tells us that he actually grew his hair long like Samson, and he was known as the Samson or whatnot. But a huge slave rebellion was started around 1879 because of Gabriel Prosser. And now we know, and we're able to understand why we were forbidden to read, and why we definitely were forbidden to read the Bible. And slaves that desired to read the Bible were only given a slave Bible that had the book, the story that talks about Joseph and his slavery or his captivity in Potiphar's house or whatnot. But that's all that's all they were given. They were not given the full Bible. And if they attempted to learn to read or read that Bible, there were harsh penalties such as losing your tongue, losing your limbs, or whatnot. And so, now a lot of things are making sense.
This is where it's from. Hadid, the administrative trustee, the global guardians of the Al-Aqsa. You know what I'm saying? The Dome of the Rock and stuff like that. They guardians of it. And they writing us at Philly, and they telling us Washington cannot broker peace negotiations on behalf of the Palestinian and the Jerusalemite family. They can't broker peace negotiations between the Palestinians and with the 13th Jewish tribe of European Ashkenazi Khazars, who, contrary to Nikki Haley, who is our UN ambassador, she asserted at the United Nations today, amen, they're saying that contrary to what she said, this 13th tribe, these European Ashkenazi Khazarians, do not carry any biological lineage to the original black, brown, 12 tribes of the Hebrew. You're the only one that don't know who you are. the rest of the world knows who you are.
Okay, so I'll give you a little background about that story. This is Pastor Omar Thibodeau. He pastors a church called Philadelphia in Louisiana, and there's also a body here in Georgia. I believe it's in the Forest Park area. And he, a few years ago when Trump was president and Trump decided to send the U.S. ambassador Nikki Haley over to negotiate between the Jerusalemite people and the Palestinians, and Trump decided to move the embassy back to Jerusalem. The Islamic community and the Palestinians were highly, highly upset, and they actually sent Pastor Omar and I believe a few more African American churches or Hebrew Israelite assemblies received letters that were two letters. It was the same letter, but one written in Arabic and one written in English that says, that calls the current Jews Ashkenazi Khazars a 13th tribe, and says that they have no right and no place to broker any peace negotiations between the Jerusalemites and the Palestinians. They sent it to the African American churches saying, basically, you all, what do you all think? They have no say-so. You all are the only ones that have say-so. We should be negotiating with you all. So that's what that letter was about, or that video. And like I said, I will post all of these things in the description box.
Skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat. Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring you into Mitzrayim, Egypt again, with ships. And the way of which I said to you, you shall see it no more again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies for slaves and female slaves, and no man shall buy you. And that is what happened to the regal class of the house of Judah. And I want to give you a brief history. I won't go into it too much, but I can't just make that statement because there'll be people that will push back. But I want to give you a brief history on slavery. I was just amazed, I got to tell you. I mean, when you come to America and you talk to people about slavery, you can talk to black people about slavery, white people about slavery, and they'll give you all this history on slavery, and it only goes back to the 16th and the 17th century. And you're like, don't they teach you the history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery as far back as the 16th and the 17th century? Why are they only going that far back? Because they don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back, and you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery? We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery, and then the Ashkenazi Khazars, those who say they are Jews and are not, are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans. Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans. And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility. And they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah. This is what we've got to understand, but you've got to go back before the 16th century to understand the roots of it. So we're going to see, as we dig into this, where this slavery came from, because it was really a system that was very, very well crafted. There was Islamic masters, and there were white Ashkenazi Khazar ship owners. There were the buyers and the sellers. And they're not going to fill you in on all of this, but really you've got a four-tier system. Number one, you have the Negro nomads that were exiled from the kingdom of Judah. Number two, you had indigenous black African hunters that resented the regal Negro nomads that had come into their territory with their own customs, with their own laws that were different and would not assimilate into their tribal culture. They were their own tribe. They were the regal house of Judah. And number three, you had Islamic trappers that worked with the indigenous black Africans to trap the regal Negro house of Judah. And then you had them sell them to the Ashkenazi ship merchants, along with many Portuguese and British Ashkenazi. You see, it's just like Al-Qaeda today. Or is it ISIS? Or is it ISIL? Or is it IS? I mean, right? Let's just change the name as much as possible to throw you all off so you really don't know what's going on. Let's keep switching the identity to hide the people. Why don't we just keep renaming you? Are you Negro? Oh, no, you're not Negro. No, you're colored. No, you're not colored. You're African American. And this is what they name you. The slavers name you this. Because I know a white guy who grew up in South Africa. And he now lives in America. He is an African American.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Can't go? Stuck poop makes thin women look fat. Do this to clear out stuck poop fast. Fiber helps you.
And more African American than most. Do you see how African American is a misnomer? It's a misnomer. Don't check that box.
Okay. So, I am going to right now, let me stop sharing for 1 second. I am going to go ahead and read Psalms 83. Psalms 83 reads, "Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace and be not still. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against our people and consulted against our hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasharallah may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, and the Hagarenes. So he just named 4 groups of people that were the primary participants in the slave trade. So you had the tabernacle of Edom, which is Rome. Rome partnered with Spain, Portugal, and other European countries. So that's the tabernacle of Edom. The Ishmaelites, the Islamic nations, the Arab countries fall under the Ishmaelites. The Moabites, which is Asia, the Caucasians, they also played a part, and the Hagarenes are the Africans. So Psalms 83 tells us that it names other nations as well in the verses below that also played a part. But the 4 primary are the very same groups that he just named. And the Caucasians are the Khazars, were a warlike tribe that dwelled in the mountains. So they came down, partnered with Kittim or Edom, and they partnered with the Ishmaelites as well as the Hagarenes, the African, and the Arabs. And also, we don't hear a lot about the Islamic slave trade that also took place while the Atlantic slave trade took place off the western coast of Africa, transporting Hebrews to the Americas as well as the islands of the seas. The Islamic slave trade took place off of the eastern coast of Africa, selling Jews into China, India, Australia, and different places that way. So let's keep going. I'm going to stay on this same video and jump up to around minute 39 right now.
'94.
We bind any hindering spirits that will try
Jews owned 9,000 regal African nomadic Jews from the house of Judah. In 1694, they owned 9,000 enslaved from the house of Judah. Jewish slaving is confirmed in the Jewish Encyclopedia. But you start talking about it, again, you're digging into historical truth, not sacred history. So why does the American Black history exist solely for the past 400 years, beginning in the 17th century? And all you hear about is, well, the transatlantic slave trade. But there's so much more than the transatlantic slave trade. You've got to go further back. I want to quote to you from Babylon to Timbuktu. It's a book by Rudolph R. Windsor. This is page 84, quote. In the year 65 before the Common Era, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 of the Common Era, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Page 86. Many Jews fled to those parts of northwest Africa known as Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. Many other Jews fled to areas where Rome didn't have any jurisdiction. This was the region to the south, the Sahara Desert and the Sudan. You see, in the 1930s, it was an established fact that the regal class of Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah, that they resided in Songhai, in Mali, in Ghana, in Kenem, in Bornu, in the empire, and within the Onadu forest of the Dahomey south of Timbuktu. Communities complete with Aramaic Torah scrolls. On page 90, from Babylon to Timbuktu, it says this: the black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. Now, this is going to tell you why the native indigenous black Africans worked with Islam to trap the house of Judah and sell them to the Ashkenazi ship owners that were also Portuguese and British Ashkenazi ship owners. And that's the history we want to see. Why did this happen? Page 90. The black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, they carried their history, laws, and written records with them. This assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization. Because of the stability of the black Jewish culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the autochthonous population. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths. There were leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists. Do you think the indigenous blacks resented the regal Negro nomadic class of the House of Judah? And do you think they wanted to get paid by Islam? And do you think Islam wanted to get paid by the Ashkenazi Jewish ship merchants? And then you get to your transatlantic slave movement. But don't start at the ships on the west coast of Africa. That's all you're going to get in your democratic American public re-education system. And it just troubles me. Even blacks in this country aren't educated enough to go further back. Do you know how many blacks in America have been lost to Islam? It's outrageous. That's not your tribe. Your tribe is Judah. Muhammad's tribe enslaved you. Why would you convert to Muhammad's tribe when you're of King David's tribe? Don't convert to the tribe that enslaved you and then sold you to Ashkenazi ship merchants. More black Negroes have been lost to Islam in the 20th century than any other believing, Bible-believing group. It's outrageous because they don't want you to know who you really are and what tribe you're from, but you're not from Muhammad's tribe. Never were. Never were. You are a regal Negro class from the royal house of Judah.
Okay, let's keep going. So are these people racist? I applaud people for telling the truth, because it's to a point where when we were given the idolatrous image of Caesar Borgia, which was Pope Alexander's the sixth son, who posed as the image of Christ, and that was given to the world when we were conquered. We are a conquered people. When we were given that image, it's been okay. It's been okay for the last 400 plus years that we have worshiped that image and had it on our walls. And I still know people that have it on the walls in their homes today. And that was okay. But now that the truth is coming out, now we're being racist. Now it doesn't matter what color he was. He died for all. If it did not matter what color he was, why was there such a conspiracy against his people? Why has there been such a conspiracy? All right, so we're going to go into I have mentioned these documents before, but we are going to go into the Inter Caetera and the Dum Diversas. All right, so let me go to the Dum Diversas first. So the Dum Diversas was issued, it's the papal bull that was issued by Pope Nicolas V on June 18th. Wow, that's interesting. June 18th, the 6th month, the 18th day. So it's all 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6, and it's the 6th month. So it's actually, it was issued on 6/6/6/6. All right, so it reads, I'm going to go down to here. So this was issued by the Roman Catholic Church to various kings, and this is what it reads. And this is about basically conquering a people. which was the kingdom of Judah at the time. So it reads, the vigor of the faithful and your royal majesty in the most sacred intention of his kind, we grant to you full and free power through the apostolic authority by this edict to invade, conquer, fight, subjugate the Saracens and the Saracens and pagans and other infidels, other enemies of Christ, and wherever establish their kingdoms, their duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, lands, places, estates, camps, and any other possessions, mobile and immobile goods, found in all these places and held in whatever name, and held and possessed by the same Saracens, pagans, and infidels, and the enemies of Christ, also realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, lands, places, estates, and camps, possessions of the king or prince, or of the kings and princes, the king and prince, singular, or of the kings and princes, plural, and to lend their persons in perpetual servitude, and to apply and appropriate realms, duchies, royal palaces, principalities, and other dominions, possessions, and goods of this kind to you and your use and your successors, the kings of Portugal. All right, so Pope Nicolas V told the kings of Spain and Portugal that they could have anyone who was in opposition of the cross, anyone who was in opposition of accepting JC as their Lord and Savior, anyone who was in opposition of being led by the universal church was conquered and taken captive by any means necessary. The Jews at this time, so we're gonna, I made a video about this previously, and I will post that video because it goes into more depth. But we were actually reclassified. There were rules and laws that told you how to treat the Jews. The Pope Nicolas basically said, reclassified us from Jews to pagans, infidels, in need of salvation, because we opposed their Roman Catholic dogma. We opposed worshiping their power because we had our own power. So that's what we don't realize. There's been a bait and switch. There's been a hijack. Christianity, we have to return back to Christianity before Constantine merged Mithraism and all sorts of other religions into Christianity and absorbed it and made everything one, and then put the Trinity doctrine and the Trinity doctrine along with the Immaculate Conception and the Virgin Birth and all of these pagan tales that were around and being worshipped thousands of years prior to the birth of Christ. we have to get back to the law, statutes, and commandments. The people that were in the Americas when Christopher Columbus discovered this nation, had made up in their minds to return to Ohio and to worship him and him alone, and keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, and keep his feasts. And so therefore they were enemies of Rome. We'll go more into that a little bit in this video, but mainly in the next video. Okay. So now this is the Papal Bull, the Inter Caetera, that was signed off by Pope Nicolas the Pope Alexander VI in 1493. So we see it here. But I'm just going to give you all a summary of it. And you can I believe this is in Latin, or but you can read the English translation of it. But basically, when Christopher Columbus came back to Pope Nicholas and said that he had discovered the new world, Pope Alexander then wrote the Inter Caetera, which is almost the same verbiage as the Dum Diversas. It has a lot of the same verbiage in it about conquering and claiming and discovering and seizing the pagans for the good of the Catholic Church. So I'll read this paragraph here. It says that the bull stated that any land not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered and claimed. So this is how Esau has colonized over 80% of the world through discovering any nation that was not under the cross, and by any means necessary, including torture and death, forcing those people to give up their own customs, religions, languages, and basically bow down to the Catholic Church or else. So I'll start it over. The bull stated that any land not inhabited by Christians was available to be discovered, claimed, and exploited by Christian rulers, and declared that the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread, and that the health of souls be cared for, and that the barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself. So this was the doctrine of discovery. Okay. This very same year is when Pope Nicholas had his son Cesar Borgia, or Cesare Borgia, painted by Leonardo da Vinci. He was painted, all right, as that image of Christ that was given to the world. So I'm going to read this, and then I'll play this next video. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and his interpreter was a Jew whose name was Lou, and that is true. Indeed, it is true. Luis de Torres was not only a Jew, was not the only Jew who sailed with Columbus on the 3rd of August that year. Columbus's navigator and his doctor were also Jews. All three and two more were Jews who underwent formal conversion to Christianity one day before the voyage began, but were nevertheless viewed as Jews, both by other Jews and by Spanish Christians who called Jews converted to Christianity Morenos, meaning swine. Columbus included de Torres because de Torres spoke Hebrew. Columbus evidently believed or wanted to believe that he would meet Hebrew-speaking Jews on reaching the other side of the world. Columbus believed he would find the 10 lost tribes of Israel there and thence thought he would need a Hebrew speaker. It should be noted that the voyage of Columbus was financed by two Jews, Louis de Santangelo, counselor of the royal household of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and Gabriel Sanchez, treasurer of Aragon, both converse, of course. All right, so I find it interesting that, y'all, when we see that, so now we know that Christopher Columbus was a Jew. He brought another Jew with him that was a Hebrew interpreter. He also brought a Jewish doctor, and it was financed by Jews. The counselor of the royal household of King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, and Gabriel Sanchez, the treasurer of Aragon. So this took place just as the Jews had been. Now, see, let's not get it twisted with the Jews and the Jews. We're talking about the same Khazaria, Ashkenazi Jews, the same people that owned the ships, are the same people that Columbus set sail with. Esau is a mighty hunter. Columbus did not just stumble upon America, as we were told, and thinking that he was going to Asia or somewhere. Columbus was equipped with several maps, and we may take a look at some of those maps in the next video. He was equipped with several maps, and he actually tracked down the 10 lost tribes from the book of Ezra. And I'm going to show you all this little short clip from the movie 1492 that was about Columbus's journey here. Excuse me, you all. I have to share my screen first.
There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So was Christ.
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. How can you be so certain?
the calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
Okay, so why did Hollywood include that line for them to name Ezra's? And the book of Ezra's, second Ezra, is one of the books that was removed from the Bible that is in the Apocrypha. So we're going to read second Ezra 13. I'm going to start reading at verse 39. Verse 39 reads, And there thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And when he carried them over the waters, and so became they into another land. But they took counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they had never kept in their own land. And they entered the Euphrates by a narrow place in the river. For the Most High then showed them signs, and held still the flood till they passed over. For through that country there was a great ways to go, namely 1.5 years, and that same region is called Assyria. And then they dwelt there until the latter time. The latter time is now. We're in that latter time now. So the Bible tells us that the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom that had been exiled from their land because of the heathenist things that they were doing, after they were taken captive in Assyria, they fled the Assyrian captivity, and they decided, we're going to go. We've been in the land with these heathens, practicing their customs, keeping their customs and culture. Even when we were in our own land, we perverted it, and we were not keeping our laws, statutes, and commandments, and we offended the Most High and were exiled from our land. So let's get a fresh start, go where never mankind dwelt, to the nation where never mankind dwelt, and we will start there and return to a higher and keep his law, statutes, and commandments. And so that is documented here in second Ezra. And it said that they went from after the Assyrian captivity until the last days, they dwelt in the Americas. The Americas was at that time called Arsaris. That was the name of it. And no man dwelt in North or South America. So when those 10 tribes came over, they were the original inhabitants of the land. And so this goes back to them also opposing the cross, because they had made a pact to stop their heathenist, the heathenist things that they were doing, and they were worshiping, had decided to worship the Most High, or return to the Most High. And so the Assyrian captivity, I believe, is also documented in 2 Kings. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video right now, and the rest of the information we will discuss in part 2. You all have a blessed and a wonderful day. Until the next video, a higher permits. Shalom.